All right, everyone. So this is a special episode. We had intended to only use this for written purposes. So this was more so an interview that we were going to plan to use his quotes sort of within blog and elsewhere on social media. But we thought that was a good conversation. He added a lot of very interesting insights. And this all centers around the fact that Gary has just become the most recent owner of a Major League Pickleball Team. And essentially, he plans to just kind of invest a ton of time and effort into not only being a good team owner, but helping pickleball to continue its growth and really put it on a platform that I think will be really beneficial. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Gary Vaynerchuk.
There he is. What's happening?
Things are good, Thomas. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's great to have you on this.
Thank you.
And by the way, just to set a little, just so you have an understanding, we're not going to stream this or anything.
No worries.
Just a casual convo.
Awesome.
And to give you a little context around us, so I run the Dink, which is I would say we could equate it to 1:37 p.m., but for pickleball.
I love it.
Okay. And so a blog is just one component of what we do. And so these quotes will just be used for that blog.
Let's rock and roll.
And then we might maybe flip some of this up and throw it on social. But
I totally understand and appreciate it.
Cool. So yeah, well, first of all, we're, as a sport, super pumped to have you involved in this. So one, congrats on the team.
Thank you.
Also, I would almost just say thank you for getting involved, because I think this could be great. So
that is, it's funny to be in that part of your career where that might be true. You try not to get too audacious, but I understand and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with this. Why pickleball?
I like it. Same reason I invested in esports. I like being a smart businessman, and I think it's a sport that every part of my spidey senses tell me that it's going to play out.
Okay.
I grew up playing a lot of tennis and ping pong. And so I like racket sports. Easily one of my greatest sports days of my life was my brother AJ, when he first graduated from college, picked up racquetball a little bit, not a lot, because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I'd never played, and we played our first time and I beat him, and I was really pumped about that. And that's, him and I are 11 years apart. He's better at basketball, all these things, that's what comes with age. But
right.
We always acknowledge that I've got an edge on racket sports. So this is probably me trying to continue that tradition.
Got it.
Though we're pretty even on ping pong. And so I love how the game was constructed.
Mm-hmm.
It has done a lot of things to mitigate the huge disparity that happens in tennis, which I think keeps a lot of people out of tennis.
Right.
So the mixed double, there's just so many things I like about it.
Yeah.
Not to mention that there's a video on YouTube from 4 years ago where me and Andy Roddick beat my friend Ryan Harwood and Andre Agassi. So I've got, but I think, I think it's because I believe in 25 years that it's an extremely popular sport, and this may be a very good investment, and no different than the NFL owners from the 60s. People look back and be like, geez, that was a really good decision.
Right.
I don't anticipate pickleball to be at the same level as the NFL, but I definitely believe that pickleball on whatever the television of the day is, streaming, VR, whatever it is, if you told me in 25 years pickleball is viewed and feels like the PGA Tour or the tennis, like where tennis and golf are in our society, that wouldn't confuse me. I'd be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt the participation is going to continue to skyrocket. It's just, will it continue to grow as a spectator sport? And you can certainly help with that. So on that note, how involved do you plan to be as a team owner? And maybe you don't know the answer to that yet, but maybe just sort of your knee-jerk reaction.
A lot, actually. I actually think that I only did it because I really like the partners that I have, and my intuition is I'd like to be a big impact on the sport. So I'm hoping a lot.
Cool. Okay.
On that note, I'm just gonna make one note of an idea I had that I don't want to forget about.
All right. I like
talk about meta.
We're brainstorming live. Let's see. So I was going to ask you, and it's kind of in line with the last question, but it's like you do have this big platform, and I would say that you could use it to really put a spotlight on this sport outside of just like the boomers, right? Because it's traditionally been an older sport, catered to an older demo. More Gen Zs, millennials are starting to play, but they're not taking the professional side of it seriously, in my opinion. And that's something that you can help to shed a light on and give it the proper spotlight. So is that something?
I'm definitely focused on contemporary brand building.
Yeah.
The end. It's a huge focus of mine.
Good.
I know every TikTok celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, I think in terms of new fan bases, new interest. I think there's a lot of brilliance in what Jake Paul does in fighting. I'm very aware of what people think about it. And I don't think this sport needs that level of like, bad guy, like wrestling DNA. Mm-hmm. But I do think that when you look back, the fact that most Americans who are boomers know the Billie Jean King match in the Astrodome much more than they can speak to, even Borg versus McEnroe, which had great ratings on a Sunday morning, speaks to understanding promotion. I understand Vince McMahon. I understand Don King. I understand Dana White. And I also understand context. Those are all sports that I think have different levels of machismo and need a different level of marketing. But I referenced the Billie Jean King Astrodome match because that was a pop culture event for tennis.
Sure.
And I think for the growth of pickleball, I definitely have ideas of pop culture events that I think could really help the sport.
Can you give any more on that around the ideas, or are they still?
You'll appreciate this because I'm a pretty straight shooter, and even with press, I don't have that answer. Yeah, I just know that I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Figure it out.
And I also know my place. Right. I am just one of the owners. I think for all my energy and all my firepower and all my who I am, I think similarly I've been successful because I understand my place too. I'm not going to go in there and be a tornado. I have no interest in being the Donald Trump of the USFL. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Jimmy, when you look at a Bob Kraft or Jimmy Jones, excuse me, there's influential owners that can really help a sport, and then there's being disruptive. I have no interest in being disruptive. I have interest in being a positive, influential adder. The reason I don't know yet is because I haven't had team meetings yet.
Yeah.
I have to listen before I talk. I have ideas. I have 400 hypotheses.
Yeah.
Right? But unless I really know what the hell I'm talking about, I think I become a distraction instead of a contributor. And so my plan is to listen a whole lot in year one, and then hopefully, bring value.
Okay. Are you pretty familiar with the pro landscape and who the pros are?
More and more every day.
Do you know like a few by name?
I know there's that gal. So no, the answer is right this second I don't. The two that I've looked at is the dude that signed the exclusive deal with the other league, and the gal that's been winning quite a bit. What's that?
Ben Johns and Anna Lee. Ben Johns is the guy.
The guy.
Anna Lee is his counterpart on the women's side, and she's a 15-year-old girl who's just tearing.
Correct. So for me, the fact that I can give you that answer, but not their two names, is exactly how I tend to work, which is why I would never come in too hard with this is what we need to do. I have too much empathy and self-awareness. Now that this all went down and got serious while I'm in the shitstorm of launching Series 2 V Friends.
Yep.
So had this been 6 months ago or 6 months from now, I'd have Anna Lee and John's like, I'd have them down now because I would have the time to do the work.
Yeah.
Since this all kind of moved pretty quickly where I have like no minutes or no seconds, I'm pumped that I even know about those two in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Hence like my general curiosity. But, you know, hopefully this summer I'll be able to, you know, my hope is that when we are talking in, you know, in 9 months, that not only do I know those two, but I can speak to like some 40-year-old from Cincinnati that won a tournament that nobody's ever heard of, you know.
By the way, this you'll appreciate this story. In the tournament this past weekend, two of the main guys got knocked off by a lawyer and a teacher who polished off like an entire bag of potato chips right before he went out onto the court, and then knocked off two of the best players in the world. And that's the beauty of pickleball. It's a great equalizer, right?
It's a really, that is everything for me, because what that speaks to, you know, there was that woman that passed away. I just saw the headline. I was not aware of the story, even though I'm a big fan of sports, who was the big softball and golf icon. She struck out Ted Williams in an exhibition in 1961 or something. And I was just like skimming the article and it was like, wow, like that, like thinking about media, like that was like the front page of the sports section of every paper in 1961. Yeah. And like she was known for that her whole life. And of course, Ted Williams batted 400 and fucking never struck out, and like a girl in 1961, like, wow, that must have been profound.
Yeah.
You're right. This is one of the reasons I joined this sport. What you just told me, like my hope is that once I get educated, once I get serious, once it gets fully in my blood, once I build the infrastructure around my team and even the league as an influential partner, that is on like local news stations last night.
Right. It should have been, yeah.
And is really helping. I think pickleball, I'll tell you another thing. I think exercise matters. I think most people hate it. I hate it. The equalizer aspect of it, I think may make a lot of people, once there's like courts at scale in America.
Yeah.
I think it's going to save people's lives. I'm not even kidding. I'm not going too altruistic on this. I think a lot of people are going to fall in love with this sport in the next decade and find themselves as a cliche 52-year-old that is done with exercise, which is very poor and would hurt them in their 80s, who are going to find their way into falling in love with the sport, be active at it. It's you know, obviously it's a smaller court, but moving is still moving.
Yeah.
Like people are sweating out there. This is not like stable. And I'm really excited about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice side dish that's altruistic that I actually believe in.
Right. Well, I already know examples of that. I already know plenty of people who that is the story. They feel reinvigorated sort of at the later age, and you know, they're back out being physical and active again, and it's done wonders. So, all right, question for you. How long do I have you?
I have another thing right now, but let's try to get 2 minutes more.
Okay. What do you think is missing from pickleball, and what can we add in right now to take it to the next level? I mean, Major League Pickleball is one of those things already, so we're off to a good start. Time.
What's missing is awareness. Like most people still don't know what it is.
Right.
I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I think one thing that, and maybe, you know, 1:37 p.m. your channels can help with is, and everybody in the sport talks about this, is creating more narratives, building up the individual personalities. If you look at the top 20 players, these are really interesting people with really interesting backgrounds from all over the world, but it's like nobody knows who they are. And if we can tell those stories and we can make people care, that'll go a long way. And so
those are human beings that everybody knows who Andre the Giant and Junkyard. Like, I'm aware. I know what Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor meant to UFC and MMA. I know what Tiger Woods meant to golf. John McEnroe to tennis. I very much know what the job at hand is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is a remarkable sport. And like every sport, it will have its day. It's a very well thought out game that I think a lot of people are going to understand. It's an equalizer for a sport that many of us love in tennis. When I say an equalizer, a lot of people can be successful in this because of the nature of the sport. And I just want to remind you that Super Bowl I was not sold out ticket-wise, that the 1982 NBA Finals were on tape delay, not aired live in America, and that video games were considered a distraction from school in the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s. Sports evolved, and this one's going to.
I like it. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, brother. Have a great day. Talk soon.
Great. Yeah.
Looking forward to getting to know you through this process.
All right.